Hello, we are live. We made it, you guys. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for your patience. You didn't know what was going on, but we were having a little technical difficulties in the background, but that's okay. I'm just excited that we are here today. And we are here to bring you information about starting your own podcast, right? And so this is Christian Connection, and we are hosted by Wives in Waiting. And we meet every third Monday of the month. Normally, we meet in person, but you know, we haven't been meeting in person since Rona has hit the scenes. And so we still wanted to make sure that we're keeping our obligation and that we are making sure to bring you the information that you need and keeping us all connected. And the goal of Christian Connection is that we are empowered both spiritually and naturally. And so what we do every third Monday of the month is we have two guest speakers. One starts off and they give you a inspirational talk to just keep you encouraged spiritually, to keep moving and keep moving forward and whatever God has purposed in your life. Right? We all have a purpose. We all have a calling. What is that? And sometimes we just need that little gas to keep going, right? And so that's what we like to do. And then we know that we are in the natural, right? There's some things that we need, like we need step by step. What do we do? How do we do this? How do we get connected? And so every month we bring a different speaker on to come and tell you what you need to do or give you a plan or ideas of how can you start moving forward in different areas, whether it comes to starting your own business or personally growing as well. And so I'm so excited for our guest today. I'm so excited just to be with you guys once a month, every third Monday of the month. So make sure that you join us right here, right now. We're this is a platform we're using until we again come together face to face. So make sure to save the date. So this month we're talking about starting your own podcast. You know why? Because your voice needs to be heard. You have something that you need to say. Some of you have had it on your heart to start a podcast, but you just didn't know where to start, don't know how, or just been thinking about it. Or maybe you started a podcast, but you really haven't pushed it forward and you need some additional tips and skills and things of what you need to do. So we definitely want to share that with you this month. Next month, make sure to save the date because guess what? We're going to talk about business credit. That's very important. How is your credit? Is it in line? Is it in check? Woo! Well, we're going to make sure. We're going to tell you all about what you need to do to make sure that everything is in line so that your business can grow. So save the date for next month as well. So before we start, I'd like to open up prayer, just thanking God for this time and this space, inviting him into the conversation, and thanking God for every woman or every ear that will hear this message on today, asking that you bless them and asking that you increase their territory and the hands that you have directed them to touch. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So our first guest, is going to touch you spiritually. I love this woman of God, Minister Barbara Green. I remember when I first met her. Actually, I don't remember when I first met her. I'm trying to think, like, how did I meet her? I remember our encounters from when we first met. It's always been pleasant. She has always had a heart for women, always had a heart for ministry. And everywhere I see her giving. I see her pouring out. And I'm telling you, if you ain't never been to a Miss Barbara Green conference, woo, that's my little fun shout. I'm telling you, missing out because this woman here, I don't know, she brings heaven down on earth. You know that it is in heaven as it is on earth. That's this woman right here. Ha! I'm telling you. Now, I'm just having a little fun, but I'm being serious. She has a heart of gold and she is a powerhouse. And I love her dearly. And I love the way that she serves in action, not just with her words, but in her action and in her heart. And so I was so happy that she accepted the invitation to come and encourage your heart. Your voice needs to be heard. Whatever God has planted in you, it must manifest. So help me with showing some hearts and some love as we welcome Minister Barbara Green. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lanice. For a minute, I had to look to the back and say, who's she talking about? But praise God. Praise God.
I'm going to step on out so you can have the floor.
All right. I thank you for inviting me. Hello, ladies. A lot of you probably know me. A lot of you probably don't. My name is Minister Barbara Green. When Lanice asked me, could I come and speak? There was no way I could say no, because this woman right here, whenever I call her, regardless of what she's doing, she will make room and come, even if it's, I gotta be here, but I gotta be there, but I'm gonna stop by. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And I just want to say thank you. When she asked me, I kept asking her, what do you want me to talk about? What do you want me to say? And she just kept saying, let God lead you, let God lead you. As she talked a little bit about, we are in a pandemic. And God just wanted me to simply tell you guys that during this pandemic, some of you might be feeling like you're in a wilderness. And when we go into a wilderness, the enemy begins to make us think that it's a punishment or that we're alone. During this time, though, God says that this is not a punishment. You are not alone. This is a resting period for some of us. Some of us have been complaining, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do this. Well, guess what? He gave us time. But he didn't give us this time to sit back and do nothing. He wants us to rest, lean, and depend on him. Take this time to get closer to him, to seriously ask God, God, during my next season, what is it that you want me to do? What is it that you have me to do? Open up your ears, open up your hearts, open up your mind, and allow him to pour into you. Take this time now to listen, to also not only listen, but plan. And then once the plan is ready, once the pandemic has been lifted, then you can activate. But what we have to do is don't take this time for a pity party. Don't let the enemy sit in and make you feel that you're lonely. Because, see, there's a difference between being alone and lonely. God has some of us alone right now because he needed us away from the crowd. He needed all our attention to go on him. Because some of you ladies have been second guessing what God is telling you. You heard him. You heard him right the first time. So now it's time to quit playing, to get serious, because I'm not sure if you're watching Facebook, but God has been using this time to expose. He's exposing people. Right now, he's exposing the racists. But guess what? That's not the only exposing he's due. He's also going to expose the false prophets. He's also going to expose the false Christians. So I suggest that this time you make your connection with him right. You make it strong. You seek him. Now it's time to put everything on the table and tell God, God, I surrender. God, I need you to lead my steps. And then as I was researching, just reading, trying to see where God was taking me, this woman popped up on the internet. And I forgot to write down her name, but she did a sermon. And the sermon that she did, she was talking about the taters. And when I sat there, I watched it, I sat back, I said, whoa, that's deep. And then God said, bring that to the ladies, but bring it in a different format. Because what he wants you to do is, outside of these people that I'm about to introduce you to, I want you to pick and see, and be honest, you don't got to tell nobody, which one are you? And change that. Because that's what's also going to help you grow spiritually, but it's also going to help your business grow. So with that, the first person that the woman spoke about, she spoke about the spectator. And that's the one that shows up to everything. But they don't show up to work. They just show up to watch. They ain't going to do no work. They're not going to pick up nothing, but they're going to be there to watch. Don't be that spectator that just shows up to watch. The next one was the hesitator. But the hesitator, what she said was, they always finna do something. I used to be that person. Oh, I was about to do that. Or, oh, I was about to do this. So now it's time to do it. Now I'm finna do it. I was gonna do it. Now it's time to do it. If that's you, stop being a hesitator. The next one was the agitator. We all know some of them. Those are our family. I'm just going to keep it real with you. And then y'all know me, know I'm going to keep it real. Those can be our family, our children, our friends, our mates. They always starting up something. No matter what somebody's trying to do, they always find out the bad part of it. Oh, girl, that ain't right. Or they always gossiping. Girl, did you see how she did that? I would have did this different. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. If you see something, go to your sister and say, hey, I got an easier way that could have been done. Offer. We need to stop being that agitator and going in them cliques and start building relationships. That's what's going to help your business and your ministries grow. The next one is the imitator. We all know some of them. Some of us have been an imitator. We were imitation. We were fake. Some people have come to you as a friend. Some people have come to you as a spiritual advisor. God tells us to study to show thyself approved, which means be careful of who comes to you, who you allow in your circle, who you allow to speak over your life, who you allow to speak over your vision. Be careful who you tell your vision to. The best person that you could talk to is God, and the person that God sent for you. You will know if God sends that person to you because he's going to prepare you for them. But also, don't you be that imitator. Don't you be that fake person. I'm just going to keep it real. Real recognizes real. So in order for you to get real, you got to be real. The next one is that dictator. I say that's the know-it-all. That's the one that can't be taught. That's the one that can't be nurtured. That's the one that can't be helped out because they know everything. That's a dangerous person. Don't let that be you. God don't want nobody that he can't teach, that he can't help. How can you help somebody if you can't be helped? Oh, my pastor used to say, how can you lead if you can't be led? I need to say that again. How can you lead if you can't be led? So don't be a dictator. Sometimes it's best that we sit back and we listen. And as I say, we woosah. And that's what some of us need to do in our spiritual realm. We need to sit back. We need to woosah. We need to allow God to pour into us and quit trying to tell God how to do his job. I'm just saying. I ain't talking about nobody specific, but some of us want to tell the pastor what to do. Some of us want to tell our bosses what to do. If God didn't give you the vision, you don't know the vision. So sometimes it's time to sit back and allow ourselves to be led. During this pandemic time, sit back and allow God to pour into you and to lead you. Amen, somebody? The next one you have is the rotator. That's the one that rotates. They a member of this group, and they don't like this group because they don't like sister so-and-so. They a member of that group. Girl, I tried that, but ain't really too many people there. Or they a member of this group. Oh, but I don't like what she said to me. They're never nowhere solid. They're not stable. That's what's wrong with us in our walk. We over here, we following this church because this pastor said something good, but then we found something wrong with him, so we joined that church. We have to be stable in order for God to let the shepherd lead us and help us build. That's even with some of our businesses. We have too many ideals, too many things that we trying to do. We want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this, and guess what? Then it all falls apart. Ask God, what's your vision for my business? What's my gift? If you let God direct your footsteps and direct your business plan, you can't fail. But quit trying to, every time you see something new, try to steal somebody's ideal and run with it. It ain't never going to work. I'm just going to keep it real with you. It ain't never going to work. Use your ideal. Activate your faith. And then the last one we had is that amputator. That's that person that cuts everybody and everything off. I hope you guys can still hear me. For some reason, my phone went out. But that's that person that cuts everybody and everything off. And with that, I'm saying is, soon as they feelings get hurt, they cut them off. They got a new friend. Soon as somebody says something that they don't like, you cut them off. You go find somebody else. I'm just going to keep it real. Check this out. In this walk, in this faith, you got to have tough skin. God didn't die upon that cross for us to be weak. You got to have tough skin. If he could still walk towards that Christ, towards that cross with all that they were doing to him, knowing all the miracles, signs, and wonders that he gave them, he still kept on walking. He still kept on going. They spit on him. They hit him. They kicked him. He still kept on going. And even at the end, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not. We need that tough skin, because we need to realize that it's not you they're attacking, honey. It's that anointing that they could see on you. So we have to have that tough skin to tell them, Father, forgive them, for they know not. They don't know me, but I know you and I love you. Forgive them. Don't let them get you off your square, because Satan has sinned. That perfect package wrapped up just right to destroy your whole world. So that's really all that God gave me. I just want to encourage somebody during this time, during this season, during this wilderness. Take advantage of it. Rest. Somebody been running too much. Rest. Somebody been overthinking some things. Rest. Just rest. And seek God while you're resting. Tell God to restore, renew, and repair during this pandemic. God bless you. I love you.
Yes. Woo, we love you too.
God bless you, Sister Louise. I love you. I hope I said something to encourage the ladies. Let them know they can always reach out to me at any time.
Yeah.
You can give them my Facebook. They could inbox me or they can text me. I'm not like that. I'm a hands-on person.
Wonderful.
If I can help, I will help.
Your Facebook information in the link so people can connect to you
anytime.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being obedient to God and sharing the word that he placed on your heart. And when we do that, we know that it touched somebody, because it always first touches us. Amen. Oh, yeah. And then we know that it's for somebody else as well. So I praise God for that word. And it was good. I was encouraged, but I ain't had no doubt.
That's right.
Praise God for you. Love you so much. God. Sorry, did you say something?
I just said I love you and I love y'all.
All right. Amen. Amen. God is good. God is good. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed that. Again, we are here to encourage you both spiritually and then naturally. Now we're going to get to the natural part. Today, we're talking about podcasting, right? We know how important it is, especially what's going on in our world today, that we want to not just be seen, we need to be heard, right? And so your voice needs to be heard. And podcasting is something that's not going away. In fact, it is only growing. And it's a great way to share your voice, to create a platform, to create revenue, especially for those entrepreneurs or those authors or different people who want to share their voice, right? And so I'm so excited for our guest today. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio, but I do want to share this. So you all know that we meet normally in person. And I must say, I miss seeing y'all. We normally get together, have some raffles, good talk. And so I look forward to that. You know, we can connect, we get to pray together and all that. And it's so encouraging, but I'm glad that we're still being able to connect this way. But I want to say this, Margo Lovett is not from Wisconsin. Okay. And I'm sorry, I want to say you're from California, but you can let us know where you're from when you get on here. But she was going to travel all the way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to bring this to you in person. And I think that's important to share because she is one who believes in the importance of sharing your voice. She is one that not only believes in it, but she does it herself. She teaches others how to successfully do it. So she was committed to doing this, and she kept her commitment even during the pandemic, and we're doing it this way. But I want to share that she was traveling all the way to our lovely city. And I was like, nah, I can't guarantee how the weather might be, even though it's supposed to be summer, okay? But she was still willing to come down. So I praise God for her heart. I enjoyed just the contact that we had. And when I read all her info, I was just so excited to bring her on. A woman of her level of integrity, a woman with her background, and just willing to share with us today. So help me welcome Margo Lovett. She is the creator and the host of the radio show, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversations. Her business features conversations with guests that support reinvention, becoming an author, an entrepreneur, and a podcast with how to inspirational information, After ending 26 years of employment. Come on now. Congratulations on that. See, this is the good thing. See, I be going on tangents a little bit. When you end something, God is saying there's a new beginning. So when she ended that, it's because he had more for her, right? Because somebody might be listening and saying, what do I do now? There's always something after this, right? And so her after this, hey, Margo said, I'm following what? My passion. So what is your passion, right? She followed her passion, hobbying internet radio. In 2017, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. First show launched, and the show has led in appearing in Marketing Insiders, Influential Leaders in Marketing, and the Huffington Post, Women L Magazine, Bodacious Women, Over 50. Wow, that is a lot of features, okay? And she graced the cover twice of Verke magazines, okay? So she was featured and she was on the cover. Not once, can you say it? Twice. Twice. See, that's what happens when you start pursuing your passion, right? The doors start to open for you. What doors are waiting for you? What doors are saying, come, I want you to come through here. This is a time, and that was so good what Barbara said, we have to rest. Why? When we rest, we can hear. When we rest, we can know, what am I supposed to do? And so in your resting, it might be time for you to hear what God is saying, how he wants you to use your voice. And so without further ado, we're going to stop hearing my voice. Amen. And bring on our featured speaker today. And let's just welcome her with hearts. That's how we show virtual love here. We show hearts, we give likes. And thank you so much. We're so excited to have you here today.
I'm doing the happy dance. It is so good to be here with you, Lanice. And I'm telling you, Minister Barb set it up. I was waving my hand because I love the Lord. I love the Lord, and I know that you are correct. This is time to rest, and it's time to listen because the Holy Spirit is leading and directing. And I'm looking at, we want to hear your voice. We don't only need to hear your voice, but we want to hear your voice. And the Lord has opened up this thing of podcasting where our voices can be heard. So,
indeed. So I'm going to step out and give you the floor so we can hear your voice, so we can learn what we need to do to get involved.
All right. Let's do it. First of all, I am Margo Lovett. I am so grateful to be here with you all, talking about and sharing something that I absolutely love. And this was given to me by the Lord, this love for podcasting and communication. And I am in Southern California. I've been out here, 30 years now, but I am from Rockford, Illinois. And guess what? I was going to come to Milwaukee, and my cousin lives around the corner from the retreat. We were going to walk over there. So, I mean, it's a big world, but it is a small world. And when you position yourself and you just be obedient to what the Lord wants to do and open the doors he wants to open up, then it's okay. So I was disappointed when COVID said, hey, you probably better not go. And I asked the Lord, and I really didn't feel coming towards you all. But, if you all open up that door again, I'm right there talking about podcasting. So right now, I want to talk to you about 6 ways that you can really start to lay the foundation for a successful podcast. Do you know there are more blogs in the world than there are podcasts? And it seems like everybody and their brother is podcasting. But the truth be told, if we're looking at the numbers, there are more blogs than there are podcasters. So Minister Barb talked about resting and then listening and going into motion. That's what I want you to do. I know that the Lord is no respecter of person, and I was caused to rest after 26 years in corporate. And after that rest, I heard the Lord say, start the podcast. I didn't have a title. Back in the day, I did terrestrial radio and I played music, jazz, gospel, all of the above. But I knew that I was in a different season and I knew the people that I had to reach, it was completely different. So I said, Lord, what is the name of this podcast? And I learned, keep a pad of paper. Don't ask the Lord if you don't want an answer. Don't ask him and not be prepared for the answer. So I went to bed, didn't get anything. Went to bed, didn't get anything. Went to bed, and do you know, by that 3rd night, I had to jump out of my bed and write down her business, her voice, her conversation. I heard it thundering in my head. And I knew that it was applicable because when I came out of corporate, I did not have a reference for how to reinvent myself. I knew what I wanted to do, but how do I reinvent myself to become an author? Never written a book. Now I'm an Amazon best-selling author. How do I become an entrepreneur? I'm going from employee mindset to entrepreneur. That's one heck of a chasm to jump across, but it happened. So, and then the podcasting thing, had been doing it for a hobby. How do you do it so that you can monetize? Because you know what? One thing I found out about podcasting, it is so big here in the States until people, the big corporations, Johnson and Johnson, I'm trying to think of a big company there in the Midwest, Johnson and Johnson, just all of the big companies are paying attention to what's going on in podcasts, and they are sponsoring. Here in America, podcasts are run off of sponsorship, but it's not that way in Europe. In Europe, they are content conscious, and people pay to listen to podcasts. So, with that background, let's start with number one way. And this is what you have to do so that you can lay down the foundation for a successful podcast. This is the way I learned, and this is the way I teach it in my podcast academy online. Oh yeah, I went from learning how to be a podcaster to actually teaching it in my academy. First step is understand your why. You have to do that. And first of all, understand that we as women, we have been influencing people from Eve. Eve spoke to Adam. We have been influencing people from the start of time. So own your voice if this is where you're supposed to go into podcasting, and just have an open mind. So when I say that I want you to begin with an open mindset, listen to the steps in the process. Don't let them overtake you. Just know that this is how you lay your foundation. And as I said, you start out identifying your why. Why am I podcasting? Maybe I'm an entrepreneur and I really need to go ahead and use this vehicle to, one, brand myself, and number two, to actually get the word out about my business. And people are doing that. Do not sleep on this. If you have a business, I don't care if you're doing paparazzi jewelry. There are a couple of people in my church that said, you all better wake up and understand you can do a lot of different things with this paparazzi jewelry and call it your podcast. Run it up to YouTube. So be you have your business, maybe you are an author of a book, have an open mind, and look at this thing of podcasting, understanding why you want to podcast. Why shouldn't you podcast? Why aren't you podcasting? And write all of this down. Write it down. Write the vision down. Make it plain. Write down your why. Make that crystal clear. Because once you understand why you're podcasting, then you're going to understand who is your ideal listener. Okay? First, you want to identify your why. Then you want to move into writing down who is your ideal listener. Okay? And in that, here's the next step. You are going to have to write your own brand story, because somewhere in that why, somewhere in identifying that ideal listener, there you are. And you always want to be authentic. All right. You don't want to be the intimidator, the imitator. Yeah, you don't want to be the imitator that Minister Barb spoke of. Be your own podcaster. Tell your own story. Launch this information out the way the Lord would have you to do it. And it starts with identifying your why, who this podcast is for, and adding in your brand story. All right. Number two, everybody asks me about equipment. They say, Margo, doesn't it cost a lot to buy all this equipment? I don't know. I'm not a techie person. I'm not a geek. My budget will be really small. And all I can say is, settle down. It's okay. There are people that are podcasting, and you do not have to have a big Star Wars type of studio to have a really good podcast. First of all, you need a good mic. And I always tell people the ATR 2020 or 2100 excellent starter mic. Get that mic about $100. You want a pop screen, a filter, and you can plug that bad boy right up into your Mac or your laptop or your desktop, and you're off. You know, back in the day, you needed all this mixing board. You don't need all of that. Trust me, beloved, you don't need all of that. Keep the equipment simple. Keep it simple. You definitely want your headphones and you want them to be closed all the way around, cupping your ears. You don't want any outside noise. It's a distraction, okay? So between your headphone and your mic and your desktop or your Mac or whatever you have, you're ready to go. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money, all right? It doesn't, trust me. And I know where the equipment is, so you really can get everything $100, $125, $150, and it will serve you, because I'm getting you also ready to be a guest on other people's show. So this is the trick. You start out buying the best equipment, the best sounding mic that you can afford, and when somebody asks you to be a guest on their show, you're ready. You have the headphones, you have the mic, you are ready, all right? And then in step two, you're going to look at your recording software. How are you going to record your podcast? And there are a lot of different ways to do that. I cover all of that in the Podcast Academy online. You want to be sure to choose licensed music. You don't want to get in trouble with copyright infringement, because, oh my God, they'll yank it off and then you have to start all over again. And it's just very uncomfortable. I know people have gone through that. You don't want that. So first of all, step number one, we identified our why. We took a look at who our ideal audience is, and we factored in who we are. We're telling our story, put all that together. Now we're looking at the equipment. We're talking about the music. And there are a couple of places in the Academy where I suggest that you plug in so that, have you ever wondered how people are able to find your podcast? Have you done all this work? It's a media host where you want to go. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, the old iTunes, those are all media hosts, and that's where people can find you. You also are able to use that same media host and run that feed, RSS, real simple syndication feed, over to your own freestanding website. So I teach you all of that. I'm just going through it real quick because it can get technical. It really can get technical, but it doesn't get overwhelming. I don't let anybody be overwhelmed. One thing about podcasting, let me take a quick break here, is that you learn this stuff at your own pace. All right. Life happens. Do not allow yourself to get frustrated, to take on that I can't do it, I'm not enough. Don't you dare take that on. If God said start that podcast, guess what? It's time. Somebody's around who will help you get that thing from your mind all the way to your media host. And next thing you know, you are podcasting. So it gets back to that mindset. Keep your mindset straight. All right. And then step number 3. This is where at the academy, I teach people to do their trailer. Now, a trailer is in TV form. It's when a new show is about to launch and drop, and they want everybody to know what that new show is all about. You do that same thing when you are doing a podcast. It's that same thing. We call it a trailer also. It's from 60 seconds up to 15 minutes. And you're talking about giving everybody the value of your show and letting everybody see who you are. Nobody can do that trailer for you. Do not hire a voiceover person. Do not hire an actor. Let everybody see how goofy or how stoic or how serious you are. Let everybody understand what your show is all about, okay? I'm goofy. I'm just myself. I laugh. I drink water while I'm doing the podcast. Just introduce the world to you and your podcast to the world, all right? I can't stress that enough. And have fun with it. And also, step number three is that I showed people how to find their guests. There are a lot of different ways, and there's a systematic way that you can find guests so that you never have to really stress about that, all right? And then, of course, the podcast legalities. You don't want to forget about that. I supply everybody with a standard legal form, a guest release, and it gets a little bit, it covers everything. Because the last thing you want is for somebody to come back and say, I was a host of the show, or that content is mine. And really, it's not just because they were a guest on the show does not mean that content is theirs. You want to make sure in that guest release, and the one that I supply everyone with, it states clearly that you have the authority to reuse that podcast, that interview, any way that you want to, but it is mandatory that you get everything returned back to you before you do one interview. All right. We cover all that at the Podcast Academy. And then step number 4, you want to really dig in. After your trailer's out, the trailer is due 1 month before everything else follows. That's one of Apple is very standard about that. So there's no reason why you can't follow through. Step number 4 is that now it's time to batch up and fill up your content bank. You already know what guests you're going to have on. You already know who your ideal listener is. You already know what your subject is. So go on and have some fun. If you're doing a topic-based show, then you can still just do them bam, bam, bam. Just do a bunch of them at one time, 3 to 4 at least. You don't want anything less than that, because you need that first month to be filled up so that you're ready, you're preparing for the next month. You want to have fun with this. You don't want to podcast out of a scarcity mentality, out of a kind of rush mentality. You are going to meet some fantastic people in your industry, people that know a lot more than you, but that does not negate the fact that this is your show, you are doing the interview, or you are presenting that topic. So maintain control, and go on and do your thing. So step number 4 is where you get into the editing, and there's a lot of editing software out there that I teach you how to use. I start you out real simple. Do not let any thought of the technicalities mess you up or stop you. I have it set up so that I was 61 years old when I learned how to really podcast. Yeah, I was 61 years old, had been doing podcasting as a hobby. But when the rubber met the road and I was setting this thing up for monetization purposes, I was 61 years old. So please, if I can do it, you can do it. And I hired the best person I could to show me how to do this. So what I'm doing is showing you exactly what I learned $15,000 later. I paid $15,000 to learn this because I was all in, and I'm still all in. So what he showed me, this is exactly what I'm sharing with you. So as I digress, you maintain your show. Do all of the show. You want 3 to 4. If you can get out 2 months worth of shows, that's fine also. I'll teach you how to edit. I do all of that with you, okay? There's a chapter in my book says standing at the chalkboard. A lot of us need somebody to stand at the chalkboard with us, with the technical stuff, with the planning stuff, and getting ready to launch. And I do all of that. So step number 5 is it's time to run. Oh my goodness. We've been up in this time, I've been teaching you how to start your podcast. Now it's time to run your podcast. And this is where you come in with your hashtag. Get yourself a signature hashtag and use it everywhere so that it can gain momentum. And it's a conversation starter. And let that work for you. You want stuff to work for you as you sleep. You want stuff to go ahead of you while you are on the way. Okay? Let that hashtag work. Social media. Start working your social media. You're running this thing up the flagpole now. Find out where your ideal listener hangs out. All your ideal listeners are not over on Instagram. Some are on LinkedIn. Some are on Facebook. Some are on Pinterest. Find out where they are. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to get your shows centered over on each and every social media platform. Save your strength, save your energy, go where your audience is at, okay? Because it just doesn't make any sense to throw as they say, throw spaghetti against the wall. You've already paid your dues. You know where your audience is at. So now you go to them so that you can stay in visual range of them, all right? Stay where they are. Speak their language. Give to them. Serve them, all right? They like your podcast. Keep serving them up. They want to be on the show. Serve them up, And while you're running this your podcast to success, you want to pay attention to your show stats. That's all a part of step 5. And I'm just going to go over that real quick because you want to know what part of the world, what part of the country. You want to narrow it down, who's listening and where, okay? But do not obsess with it. It will run you crazy because in podcast land, everybody is doing 10,000 downloads and streams. But you know what? There are 2 different ways to interpret those numbers. And in the academy, I tell you, I'll give you the 411 on what's really going on. So when a person says they had 2 million downloads and streams, they probably did 2 million downloads. But when at the unique downloads, that's a totally different number. And that's the real deal number. All right, we cover that. I'm not going to try to go into that right now. But let's get over here to step number 6. And when you cover all 6 of these steps, they're going to lead you to success. So number 6 is monetization. There's no reason why you can't monetize your podcast. You can do it by becoming an affiliate. As I said earlier in my presentation, in the States, everybody is is chasing after sponsors, the big boys. Don't worry yourself with trying to do that. For one thing, you're not going to have enough numbers to pull it, okay? And once you start that sponsorship thing, you want to make sure that you have your podcast intact, that you are comfortable with it, because sponsors can be another animal. And as some people say, all money ain't good money. So maybe you want to go ahead and sponsor another podcaster show, and they do the same for you. Maybe you want to start out that way. Watch that thing of sponsorship. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's running to it, but it can be a monster, a heck of a headache. So affiliate links. If you sell a particular product, sell your own product. You sponsor that bad boy yourself. Get your stuff before everybody's eyes and ears first, okay? And then if you do, like I moved into the academy, I'm affiliate with Amazon as far as the equipment goes, as far as Buzzsprout, one of the media hosts goes, stuff that you use, stuff that you know, then become an affiliate. You're going to tell people about it. You may as well get a little change off of people going over there, and you can stand behind where you sent people, all right? That call to action, you can stand behind that. And finally, I want to leave you with building a team. Podcasting can be a bit daunting. You're not going to know everything. Do not kill yourself trying to know everything. This is where getting a mentor comes in. And I can't stress that enough. Not because I have the Podcast Academy, but I'm talking about what I know for a fact. There's no way I could have been courted and picked up by a big major platform if I didn't have everything in place. And when they came, I was able to make that change. I was able to go with them, and I was with that major host for 2 years, and they put a lot of money into you. When they pick you up, they know they see the value in your show, and they expect you to produce. And I did it for 2 years, so I can tell you about that. But you want to make sure that you are building a team. Do not try to do all the graphics yourself, the show graphics. Do not. It can be a bit much. When you're starting out, you want to keep it as streamlined as possible. That's why I say get a mentor. They're going to know who can do those graphics for you. They are going to be able to send you to people who are going to service you well, so that you can serve your audience, so that you can serve your guests. Because you have guests coming on, you have to serve them. You have to create a space where that's their time. It's not you. You are just interviewing them. You are giving them a space where they will open up and tell you things they never thought they would. And that's happened to me. You make it their time. You be the servant leader at that time, in that place and in that space. And you create that for them. All right? So I know the time is going on by. I just want to leave you with an acronym. CAN. Candy, Apple, Nancy. We heard, yes, I can, yes, we can, when President Barack Obama ran for office. And it electrified all of us. I mean, I still hear him saying, yes, we can. And I want you to know that if God is calling you to start that podcast, and I know that there's somebody out there he has, because he's no respecter of persons, and there is such a need for our voices, the voices of those that he can control and he can download information to, those that he can direct. I know that he is setting up a place for us. So, can. Yes, you can. See, that stands for clarity. Once you say, yes, I'm going to podcast, you start working on your why. You start working on your ideal listeners. You start working through those 6 steps that lead to success. You are going to gain clarity like a snowball. You're going to be surprised. The Holy Spirit will give you information, will set you before people that you never thought that you would have a chance to interview. It set you people that will just give, as they say, give to your bosom. They will give information. You will have access to workshops. You will have access to podcasts you never thought. But it comes with that thing of clarity, because now you know where you're headed. Now you have a better idea about putting the pieces together. You are in the process of putting those podcast pieces together. A goes for action. Clarity always demands that you move to action. It demands. It is just I'm just going to say, I'll put it out there. I think it's a law. If you are supposed to do something and the Lord has put it on your heart and on your mind, He's made the provision for you, you have to move to action. Do it scared. Do it, put your money towards it. I had to actually thin back on some things to afford to move forward. But do you know the money was there? God made sure that the money was there. So you have to move to action. That's simply next. So you have the clarity, which moves you to action. And finally, you be bold enough to step into your new. You be the podcaster you're supposed to be. You expect to meet up with those people that you're supposed to meet up with. You expect to do those collaborations that the Lord has waiting for you. You expect to go for the influencers in your industry so that you not just so much that so that you can have the big foo-foo and popular and numbers, but because God wants you in those spaces. This podcasting opens up the doors. You will be surprised, and you can't even imagine them. You don't know the plans that He has waiting to fulfill for you in this podcasting realm. I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. All right. Before I got online with Sister Lanice, I got a text from a friend of mine. This is why you have to get started. This is why you have to be clear. This is why you have to consistently move. Got a text from a friend who's in Houston, Texas. She says she's in PR. She says, hey, I know about a TV show that's starting up. They're looking for people who started all over again, who reinvented, using my word, reinvented themselves. And they want to know how they did it and how they are doing it now. She said, are you interested? I said, you better believe I am. She said, can I send them over to you? I said, you better believe you can. I've been working on this 3.5 years to position myself. And I love every day of it. I work podcasting as though it is a job. As anybody in my family, and let me tell you, your family won't always understand what you're doing. Do not let that deter you. It's not your family that set you off on this journey. It's God who set you off on this journey, okay? So I'm passionate. Yeah, I'm on woosah and bring myself on back down. But I just wanted to leave you with the thought and the notion and the idea that the world is waiting for your voice. Somebody's waiting to hear from you. They need your information. They need your energy. They need your inspiration. They need your how-to. There are steps that I follow in the academy, and I had to gloss over them really, really quick today, but it's a whole curriculum that I have in the Podcast Academy online. If it's okay, I'd like to give you the PowerPoint presentation that I had set up for everyone today. It wouldn't come through and wouldn't work for me though, but okay. If it's okay with Sister Lanice, I'd like to get that over to you, and I have a couple of other gifts that I want to give you. One is 50% off from being a student at the Podcast Academy online. I'm doing this because I believe in it, and I know God has opened up these airways, and I'm telling you, we're not going to let the devil just occupy everything. No, we're not. Oh, no, he's not going to have his foolish banter on there, and his people are shut out because we are afraid and we don't know how. That ain't going down like that. So I'm Margo Lovett, the creator and the host of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Come reinvent yourself with me. You'll find the podcast, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation on each and every major platform. And then I created, and I am the instructor at Podcast Academy Online.com. So I don't know, Sister Lenise, are there questions? What do you think?
Yes, thank you so much. And so, what we want to do, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. It was a lot of information. I'm going to post some additional notes here that I have for the group. But again, we want to make sure that everybody's able to contact you. Is the best way for me to share. If you share an email, I can email it out to everyone as well. And then in the group, we can post your link.
Okay.
And then for those that might not be connected to my email, because they may want to take advantage of the offer that you're offering. I don't know if they need to put in something. Just let me know that so that they can get the discount as well. But we thank you so much. And I do have some questions here.
Okay.
First, let me just ask a little questions to you about, because you're doing this and you're very, very passionate and you shared just about the doors that are opening and things of that nature. So since you've been doing this, what is like the biggest thing and the biggest like aha moment that has happened for you during podcasting?
The biggest aha moment is that when you do what God wants you to do, He will open those doors. Do you know I had a chance? Somebody sought me out, gave me an opportunity to interview Susan Taylor from Essence Magazine. That was, I'm just being consistent, being Margo Lovett, doing what I do, and that opportunity came. Zonona Clayton, who walked with the Kings, Dr. King and Coretta Scott King, I had a chance to have a conversation with her. So what my biggest aha moment is God. Woo, he just doesn't fail. Do it scared.
Do it scared. You said something very powerful, consistency. A lot of times we can get discouraged and things of that nature if we don't have the audience or the views or whatever that we want. And we feel like, oh, I must stop. I know I've been there, even with the current group here, especially when we were meeting in person. I'm like, oh, is anybody going to come? Is anybody going to come? What about, you put a lot of work and effort into it. And when you have the heart desire, it's really just to serve people. You want to make sure that you're doing that well. And so consistency. And I can say honestly, 4 years, I think now, the only times I close is because of weather or the building wasn't open or something like that. Like just being consistent, I think it's very, very important to push forward, especially when you know that this is what God has called you to do. So thank you for sharing that. Would you say that, what is your favorite thing about podcasting personally?
Meeting people like you, meeting Minister Barb. I found, and I was always kind of shy, and I always felt like I wasn't enough growing up. I always felt like I was the stupid one in the family. But I got out of that, and when I found my voice, this is so important that everybody, God's people have a voice. Find your voice. Maybe podcasting is not for you. I also have oh my God, I came bearing so many gifts. I'm going to have to get that email to you. If podcasting is not for you, then there are other ways that you can really have a lucrative income coming in from the podcast industry as far as graphics and photography. There's just so many different ways. So find your voice so that the Lord can send you where He wants you to go. And my God does not offer, He does not come from a beggarly, miserly way. So find your voice so that He can send you and you can move into abundance.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we do have a few questions here that I want to make sure that I get to. Okay. So when creating your podcast, do you think it's a good idea to also create it on a platform where you have the podcast, but then also a virtual way like this at the same time? Is that something that is a good idea?
I think it's a good idea, but the first thing first is like Lisa Nichols says, you want to finish one thing and then go to the next. I got the podcast going first and I made sure I was comfortable with it. It's a running machine now. Then I went over into the Podcast Academy online. So as long as you're staying in your lane and you're not mixing apples with oranges, then you can do that. But make sure that you're comfortable with the podcasting thing, and because it can get a bit daunting. And episode number 8, that seems to be the drop dead. Oh, I can't go any further. A lot of people don't get past episode number 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 8 is that magic number. You get past 8, you like, come on, you can do it. Keep going, keep going. So, some podcasts have co-hosts, others don't. Is there a method or a good reason to try to do with the co-host or not, or is it just a personal preference? Any advice on that end?
I think it's personal preference, and it goes according to your subject matter. And if you're going to start out with a co-host, pretty much try to stick with it that way. But you want to be careful with the legalities of a co-host also. There should be some contracts that are signed, because people get real sticky when it gets to content. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of people have the co-host, and it works. That's something about chemistry. Yeah. But once again, it gets back to who is your ideal listener? Mm-hmm. What do you expect from the show? What is your expectation, your mission, your purpose? So take a look at all of that. And then sometimes I know some people, they have a co-host, but then that person's out of town or something like that. And then they just kind of wing it. So There's no right, there's no wrong. What are you ready to do? You know?
That sounds good. So based upon your experience, are there better days to do, and maybe these go together, are there better days to do the podcast? And then is there a good time, like 30 minutes, 45? What's good for listeners? Will they actually listen?
I tell you what, there's someone, and I think it was, I don't know why I'm trying to say Forbes. It wasn't Forbes. I know that maybe it was Arbitron did a study and said that most people that listen to podcasts do listen all the way through. But you want, that's what I thought also. But you want to, it depends on what part of the country you're at. Most people have a commute, and they're listening they're listening while they're on the train or they're on the bus or something like that. Myself, I've seen them from 5 minutes. 30 minutes is tops for me. If I'm going over to 45 minutes, then I don't try to do a 2-part. I'll just let everybody know this is hot topic. We're going to go another 15 minutes, but that's not the norm. My norm is 30 minutes, and it seems to work. But there are a lot of podcasts out there with 5-minute segments, and they work also. But once you get into that hour, 2 hours, because I look at it this way, you want people to listen more than one time. Most content is worthy to be listened to a couple of times. How many people are really going to be able to dedicate 1 hour of listening, and then you're going to want them to go back and listen again for another hour? Most people don't have 2 hours to dedicate to that kind of listening.
That's a very good point. So, and I even like the fact that you said a lot of people listen during work. I mean, like maybe during their travel. So that might be a good thing for people to consider depending on who their audience is. Mm-hmm. So what time do they go to work? What time do they get off? Might be a good time to think about what time, if they want to look at that. Is there any matrix that you kind of measure or that people can? Because, I think a lot of things too goes to, we don't want them to feel like, oh, I'm horrible because of this and that. Maybe it depends on the matrix that you're looking at.
And you have to just experiment. I started out with Tuesdays, and I stick with Tuesdays, and I make sure that I have the podcast ready, because I'm in Pacific Standard Time. I make sure that each Standard Time is able to get my podcast first thing in the morning. That seems to work. But a lot of times you just have to play with it. There's nothing that's written in stone. That's what makes it so hard. Same thing for Apple. When you're uploading your podcast, there are categories. There's 3 different categories that they give you a chance to choose from and categorize your show. 3 categories don't work. Mix them up. You just have to find out what works for you.
Okay, we just have a few more. What about, is there any way you can do a podcast where it doesn't seem like it's self-serving?
I would say twist it around. Mm-hmm. You're serving that person. If it's something of interest to you, mm-hmm. It's probably something somebody else is dealing with, they're concerned with. So turn it around and serve.
I agree. I think it's all in how we word things and how we present them. And
Mm.
so normally if it's a pain point of yours, it's definitely a pain point of somebody else. So, and I think it's how we think and perceive things too.
Yeah.
If I'm serving you, it's nothing wrong with, in turn, if you're serving me by buying something I recommended or something like that. It's not really, I think it's all our mindset and things of that nature, how we move forward with that as well. And this, well, oversaturation. And I think this is a good question. Like if someone is thinking about doing something and they think that the market is oversaturated, should they go forward? What is your suggestion? You know?
Go for it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Nobody is going to do that podcast like you. I don't care if everybody's talking about sliced bread. You're going to have your own way of being about it. You're on your own person. And if God wants you to lean in on that subject, guess what? There's room for you. He's always going to make room for you. But your job is to not look to the left and to the right. Oh, there's so many people doing this. Do your market research. But you be authentic. And as you said, consistently authentic.
Yeah.
And you're going to be okay. You know, maybe you're going to have to play it. You might have to play with it a little bit. Find your voice, though. I wouldn't let oversaturation mess me up. And you go into that bad boy confident and say, "Oh, it might be 50 billion people here, but guess what? They can't do it like me." And you may have to put yourself where some people are in that market. They may be getting away with doing a podcast once a week. You may have to amp it up and do it every day. You may have to modify so that your visibility is there. But I wouldn't let that saturation, what word is that? Don't let it scare you.
And so can you do podcasts without someone to interview? Are there podcasts like that where it's just the person?
The monologue? Yeah. When I don't have a guest, a lot of times I'll go ahead and take a section from my book. You can always explain things. And I found that, and my students also say the same thing, people want to hear you. You interview guests and they understand how you do it and your point of view. But that's not you. They don't have that alone time with you. When you are presenting something from your book or a point of view, something's come up, and these days, oh my God, so many talking points are coming up. That's time for them to be able to see how you think, how you feel. And it's magical. Oh my God, it's magical.
That's good. So our last final two questions was how much time do you spend getting to know the interviewee? And then what do you do if the person you're interviewing they don't interview well? Or does that even happen?
Yeah. You always think that I always have an initial conversation with people because I'm big on energy. If the energy is not there, it's not going to work. Maybe for someone else, but it's not going to work for me. So have an initial conversation. I'm curious anyway. I just like to feel where a person's coming from. And when we decide on what the subject matter is going to be, because most people can talk on more than one thing. So we come to a conclusion on that. And so far, so good. I've only had one person. Oh, Lord Jesus. She was fine running for president before everybody was throwing their hat in the ring. She was fine until she started talking about this and that. And I started looking at my mic and she started talking about this and that. I'm thinking, where is this coming from? I couldn't even use the interview. I couldn't even use it. So you vet a person as much as you can. Everybody Googles, like I said, find out where that person is, where they are on social media. Read their posts, LinkedIn, read their profile, get as much information as you can. If they're a podcaster, listen to some of their shows. Get as much information as you can and listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. And if it's a show that you can't use, well, just, oh well.
It can happen. This has been great. Oh my goodness. I've gotten so much, and I know our audience have. I'm so grateful for you. Before we close out, can you just share your website or your contact information really quickly? And we'll definitely put it in the chat box as well when we email out as well.
All right. I want to thank you, dear lady. Oh my goodness. And you know what? There's no shame in my game. When COVID-19 is over, next year, will you have me back? Because I want to
I
carve your
would love to.
Wait a minute. And see, that's how bodacious podcasters be. As my mom said, closed mouth never get fed. So I love podcasting. So long story short, you can find me at Margo Lovett. MargoLovett.com. That is my website. Just that simple and to the point. And then everybody's invited to go over to podcastacademyonline.com. Just go over there, do a walkabout. If podcasting is on your mind and it's really something that you want to do, it's a membership-based business model. Learn at your own pace. You know, if it takes you a year to go from thought to launch, that's okay. And that's what I've been telling my students. No comparison here. We have weekly meetings and that type of thing. I just like to know where everybody's at, but there's no pressure because I want you to love what you decide to do. So MargoLovett.com is my website. Margo at MargoLovett.com. Girl, I'm so excited. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Margo at MargoLovett.com is my email address. MargoLovett.com is my website. And podcasters, this is terrible. Podcast Academy Online is where you will find where I'm teaching podcasting. Girl.
That's okay. We're gonna make sure that we put the information in the chat box because I definitely want everyone to be able to connect with you and get that information because I know that there are a lot of people who are ready to move forward, been thinking about it, and who may catch this replay as well. So we'll make sure to get that information out there. And so you all check the chat box. And I just want to say thank you again. We appreciate you. We enjoyed your information, enjoyed your sharing and your content. We are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys for joining us today. I hope that you guys enjoyed all the information and the content that was shared. Are you ready to share your voice? Are you ready to start your podcast? Still thinking about it? Maybe you need to watch the replay. Maybe you need to understand what your why is to decide. All this information was so good. It was so rich from Minister Green, you know, feeding us spiritually all the way to us naturally from Miss Lovett, learning how to start our podcast. This was great. And so don't miss us next month. We will be right back here joining you to make sure that you're ready both naturally and spiritually to move forward. Next month, again, we are focusing on business credit. Okay. Some of you are like, what does that have to do with anything? If you got a business, you need to be on. If you're thinking about getting a business, you need to be on. Okay. Invite everybody that you know to join us back here the third Monday of the month. I'm telling you, you do not want to miss it. I am so excited about the information that is going to be shared. It's going to be amazing, just like you all are. And so, again, my name is Lanice McGee with Lanice Leads. I'm so excited to share this information with you. And I'm just going to close out in a quick prayer. Just thank you, Father, for this time. Thank you, Father God, Lord, for this space. And thank you, Father, for the information that was shared. I pray that it touches somebody, Father God, Lord, to move forward in the purpose that you have set forth in their life. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you are not following us, follow us on Wives in Waiting. We have Bible study or some type of connection every single Thursday from our page. So you can get fed spiritually consistently. Like, look, I need more. I'm telling you, we got that for you. We got Bible studies. We got virtual book clubs going on, everything that you need to spiritually get fed and keep on moving ahead. If you want to stay connected to us here, make sure you follow Christian Connection as well. Until next time, be blessed because you are blessed.